Imagine you buy a house, you put a family inside it. Every month they send you a check. It sounds like the easiest business in the world. This is the promise of passive income. Most people believe that owning a rental property is simply about buying a building and selling shelter. They think the monthly rent check is the ultimate profit, but that is an illusion. The rent is just a distraction. When you peel back the layers of a rental property business, you realize that successful landlords aren't really in the housing business at all. They're in the business of monetizing time, inflation, and other people's debt. Let's look at how the math actually works. If you buy a stock or a mutual fund, you pay the full price up front. If it goes up 10%, you make 10% on your money. But real estate operates on a financial concept called leverage. You almost never buy the house with your own money. You use the bank's money. You might put down just 20% of the purchase price, but you get to keep 100% of the profit when the house goes up in value. This means a small change in the property's price creates a massive return on your actual cash. The tenant's rent isn't making you rich directly. The rent is simply a tool used to keep the bank happy while the clock ticks. But this is where the fantasy of passive income crashes into reality. The internet sells the idea that you just sit back and collect checks while sipping coffee. The reality is far more expensive. Every month, a quiet financial decay is happening inside the walls. Water heaters have a lifespan. Roofs slowly degrade under the sun. Carpets wear down with every footstep. These are called capital expenditures, and amateur landlords almost never budget for them correctly. They see a positive cash flow of $300 a month and think they are winning. Then the furnace dies in the middle of winter, and it wipes out an entire year of rental profit in a single afternoon. Then there is the human element. The psychology of renting dictates that people do not treat a temporary space the way they treat something they own. This isn't necessarily malicious. It is behavioral economics at work. Without the long-term commitment and financial stake of ownership, there is no psychological incentive for preventive maintenance. A small leak under the sink is ignored until it rots the floorboards. A strange sound in the air conditioner is left unreported until the motor completely burns out. To survive this, professional landlords don't just screen for income. They screen for stability and habit formation. In fact, the most dangerous word in the rental business is vacancy. A vacant house is a financial black hole. It consumes mortgage payments, property taxes, and insurance, while producing absolutely nothing. Therefore, the smartest landlords use psychology to keep tenants in place. For example, they allow pets. From a purely physical standpoint, pets cause damage. They scratch doors and ruin floors. But from a behavioral standpoint, a tenant with a dog is incredibly sticky. Moving with a pet is difficult. Finding a new landlord who accepts large dogs is frustrating and expensive. So, the tenant stays. They renew their lease year after year, absorbing small rent increases because the friction of leaving is simply too high. The landlord willingly trades minor carpetware for the ultimate prize, which is zero vacancy. While the tenant is busy paying off the mortgage, the government steps in to accelerate the landlord's wealth. This is the hidden engine of real estate economics. It is called depreciation. The tax code pretends that the physical house is slowly deteriorating and will eventually be worth nothing. So, the government allows the landlord to deduct a portion of the house's value from their taxes every single year. You could be generating positive cash flow every month, putting real money in your pocket, and yet, on paper, the business looks like it is losing money. You pay little to no taxes on the income. The tenant pays the debt, the market increases the asset's value, and the tax code shields the money. And then comes the final, most powerful force, inflation. Most people fear inflation because it makes groceries and gas more expensive. But a rental property owner loves inflation. When inflation rises, the cost of housing goes up, rents go up. But the landlord's biggest expense, the 30-year fixed mortgage, never changes. The debt gets cheaper over time while the income grows. A $1,000 mortgage payment in year 1 feels heavy. By year 20, thanks to inflation, that same $1,000 feels incredibly light, while the rent collected might have doubled. The debt is being inflated away, paid by someone else, with future dollars that are worth less than today's dollars. Consider the corporate buyers and institutional investors who scooped up thousands of single-family homes after the 2008 financial crisis. They didn't buy these homes because they wanted to be friendly neighborhood landlords. They looked at the demographic trends. They saw an entire generation burdened by student loans, locked out of the credit markets, yet still needing a place to live. They realized that homeownership was shifting from a standard milestone to a luxury good. By acquiring the underlying asset, they positioned themselves as toll collectors on the American dream. They didn't care about making a few $100s a month in immediate cash flow. They cared about capturing the inevitable appreciation of a scarce asset in a growing population. This is the true economics of the rental house. The physical structure of wood, glass, and concrete is just a vessel. The tenant is not really buying shelter. They are buying flexibility, avoiding a massive down payment and a 30-year commitment to a bank. And the landlord is not really selling housing. The landlord is operating a slow-moving financial machine that converts time, borrowed money, and tax loopholes into generational wealth. The rent simply keeps the machine running until time does all the heavy lifting.